Do you want to know what your natal chart means? Do you have one of those natal charts and you're looking at it and you don't know what all those little symbols are and all those little lines in this big circle? Well, today you're going to find everything out in one video. Okay, we're going to break it down into easy to understand steps. All right, simple steps. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to look at your natal chart and we're going to break it down by symbols or glyphs and then the components of the astrology chart and then the natural wheel so you understand what the astrology zodiac is about, and then the aspects, which are relationships or angles between one planet and another, and then transits, which is what everybody's talking about when they say Pluto is in Aquarius. Now you're going to know what that means in relation to you personally, because that's why you have your natal chart. So it could give you information about forecasts and influences in the future. Okay. And then we'll look at that natal chart again. And then we'll look at the big three. All right. Now we're going to start. Okay, everybody. So you have your natal chart in your hand. It should look similar to this. If you don't have a natal chart, you could get one online for free at astro.com, or you could contact us if you want an accurate natal chart that a professional astrologer would use. So let's look at the circles and circles and circles and circles. So the outer circle is loaded with symbols, and these symbols tell you each sign. That's one of the components. Then we have the placements in this other circle of all the planets and points, and they're represented by symbols or glyphs. And there's also numbers we'll get to later. Those numbers represent degrees because that's how we get the precise placement. And then we have another inner circle, which is numbered counterclockwise, 1 through 12. And then we have these divisions. They look like pie pieces or cake pieces with edges. And those are the houses. And then we have all these lines on the inside with glyphs, more symbols, because astrology is a symbolic language. We have the aspects or connections between the planets. So now we're going to look a little deeper so you'll get a better understanding. We are going to take a look at the worksheets and symbols cheat sheet. And this is something that you should have while you're learning your astrology chart. And we will provide that for you. So this is the symbols chart. And all these glyphs or symbols represented in the columns are the language components, the alphabet of astrology. So each sign has a symbol, each planet has a symbol, each aspect has a symbol, And we also have critical degrees, which is important once you get into it deep. And we also have the chart cycle and the sign cycle. How many days or years the particular planet moves. Very important information, all in one sheet. This is an astrology chart worksheet that we use here in Holistic Healing Astrology for the students that are learning astrology. Everything is pretty much color coded, but we have everything neatly organized where you have every planet or point in the chart, and then you could fill in the blanks, the signs and degrees, and you write it down in each section here. You write down the houses, the cusp signs in degrees. So everything is right there visible for you. And then when we get to aspects, you'll be able to either use hashes for each aspect that you find. Then you could write the elements, modalities, and aspect patterns. This is a little more advanced, but right now, at least you know that you have an astrology chart worksheet at your fingertips, and it's all here for you to fill out. The next step is going to be, now this is to me the fun part and the exciting part. So these are the planets which are part of the components of astrology. These are the actors in your natal chart. So when we're looking at the natal chart in that circle, it represents these planets. What I like about this photograph here is that they're in order from Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Earth with the moon, Venus, Mercury, and the sun. And you could get an idea how huge the sun is compared to Pluto and how big Saturn and Jupiter are compared to the Earth and the moon. And remember that all the planets, except for the sun, are orbiting around the sun. They all have an orbit all around. So these have orbits. Now, out here, there's an asteroid belt, and around here somewhere between Pluto, Neptune, Uranus. These are the outer planets, by the way. Chiron is here. Chiron we work with in the natal chart. And then we have Black Moon Lilith, which is related to the moon, but it's the dark side of the moon because the moon orbits around the earth. And there's always a part of the moon that you can't see. It's never visible. That is the dark side of the moon, or Black Moon Lilith. Okay, so these planets are in order from the sun, closest to the sun and furthest away from the sun. Why do you have to know that? Because you have to know which planets move faster than the other planets, especially when we look at aspects. Otherwise, none of this is going to make sense. So, speed-wise, the closer you are to the sun, the faster it goes around the sun. logical, right? Okay, enough about that. The next component are the houses. Houses are nothing more than the divisions of the chart, and there's 12 of them. And then we look at the signs. Well, this is the sky, and these are the stars, constellations in the sky, in the real sky. And if you look up at the sky, we have all the zodiac signs represented with their corresponding star constellation. So we have Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, and Aries. See? And it just goes around in a circle. So, not only do the planets move around, but so does the sign belt. It's representative. It also moves, okay? Because it has to do with the time of the year. And that's why everything is moving. So if you remember one thing, that everything is moving, then you'll understand why there's different components and aspects to the different points and planets. So the aspects are nothing more than relationships of the planets and points to each other. And now we're going to take a look at the next area. So when people learn astrology, when you learn astrology, we use a natural astrology wheel to understand the natural positioning of astrology and the zodiac. And this representation has to do with the signs, which are along this inner gold ring, and then the symbols of the signs inside, the number of the house, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Notice it goes counterclockwise. And then the planets associated with each sign. And these are symbols. So you're going to have to know the symbols or have your symbols cheat sheet out there and ready. And then the corresponding elements, which are here in this other ring, and corresponding modalities, which are the components of the signs. And then each sign has a positive, masculine, extroverted, yang energy, or a negative, pessimistic, introverted, feminine energy, and they alternate all the way around the wheel. Okay? So we also have to understand that this circle is not only divided by houses, but it's divided by hemispheres. So we have north and south, east and west hemisphere, and then we have quadrants. All this is positioning tools so we could plot and know the exact spot that the particular planets and points, houses and signs are located in your natal wheel so we could break it down and interpret it. So we're going to now next go into the natal chart, and we're going to compare everything that we learned. We're going to look at aspects next. So when we talk about aspects, we have to consider them as rays or connecting roads, connections between one planet, imaginary planet here, and another planet there, where the big red arrow is. So everything could be described by geometry or a degree. Each aspect has a certain degree representation. Conjunction is 0 degrees. Semi-sextile is 30 degrees. Semi-square is 45 degrees, and on and on. You don't have to know everything now, but you do have to know that there are distances between one another, and each representation here, each symbol has a specific astrology meaning with key words. But again, we have to understand everything in astrology has degrees. And we're going to look at the real natal chart so you could find out what the degrees are. And this will all make sense because we're presented it in chronological order, in a rational, logical order that's going to make sense. And then moving forward, you'll be able to learn all the meanings of your natal chart once you get the key words for all the components. And we will be publishing that book in the very near future, so you could learn all this very quickly. And that is the purpose of showing you all these charts and cheat sheets. The next thing we're going to look at is, and if you have any questions, put your questions in the comment box and we will answer your questions. And also, if you like this video, give us a thumbs up and subscribe, ring the bell so you will get notifications when the new material comes out for your learning pleasure. So now we're going to take everything that we've learned about the different components of astrology, the language, the symbolic language of astrology, and we will apply it to sample chart number 1. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to look at the outer rim and see that this particular point here, which is the ascendant, is 18 degrees, 38 minutes in the sign of Taurus. Taurus is represented from this line, which is a cusp at 0 degrees, all the way here to 29 degrees and 59 minutes. And then there are subdivisions in the sign that we could look at later, but that's all represented here. The first 10 degrees, the second 10 degrees, and the third 10 degrees. So, where is your sun sign? Everybody knows their sun sign, but did you know that there is a degree associated with your sun sign? This is real astrology, because without the degree of each planet that's represented in your natal chart, which is a soul contract, you can't do anything. You can't do aspects. You can't make accurate interpretations without the aspects, and you can't relate it to forecasting or what is going to be the influence of current planetary positions and influences. You see? So here is your sun right here. This sample number one's sun is in this spot. And remember, when you put in the information, you need a date of birth, has to be accurate, a time of birth, and that particular time must be not the time zone, because then it might be 4 or 5 even, but this is local mean time. Local mean time is very important. And then this particular person was born in Virginia Beach, and it shows a latitude positioning on the planet and a longitudinal position on the planet. Now, if this is just a time zone, this position changes, because a time zone has a wide spread of 15 degrees. So 15 degrees is between here and here. That's a big spread, you see? So every planet has a corresponding degree and a corresponding sign, and it lives in a corresponding house. So this is the sun in 3 degrees Virgo in the 4th house. Very important. Going to do that again. The sun is in 3 degrees Virgo, 23 minutes in the 4th house. The moon is in 14 degrees Virgo, 31 minutes in the 5th house. And when we read the wheel, the natal chart wheel, we start here at the ascendant that was on the natural wheel, and we move counterclockwise all the way around. Okay? So we have the moon, and then we have Mercury, 27 degrees Virgo, 19 minutes. And we have Venus, 5 degrees Virgo, 4 minutes. And then we have Mars, 22 degrees, 42 minutes in Libra. And those are the personal planets that we just looked at. Then we have the middle planets, which are called social planets. And we have Jupiter, 6 degrees Sagittarius in the 7th house. And then we have Saturn, 22 degrees Pisces, 43 minutes in the 11th house. And then we have the outer planets, which are the slowest moving planets because they are the furthest planets out. And that will be Uranus, 27 degrees Capricorn, 9 minutes, and it's retrograde. We have to see the retrograde here. That's important. Okay. Retrograde means a little bit of a delay or an inverted type energy. Next planet is Neptune, 23 degrees, Capricorn, 10 minutes. And the last planet is Pluto, 27 degrees, Scorpio, 53 minutes. And this is a very popular generation, Pluto, 27 degrees, Scorpio. A lot of people born in this 20-something year period love astrology, okay? Because Pluto in Scorpio get along, and I digress. But that's most of the people that I work with have this configuration. But what makes it personal on this particular person's chart is it is in the 7th house and it's next to another planet, Jupiter. Okay. So there are layers and layers and layers of meanings. So you're going to say to me, you did not look at this symbol, that symbol, and these symbols here. Okay. So let's take a look at this. This is the North Node, 29 degrees, Libra, 9 minutes. It's retrograde. Most nodes are retrograde, by the way. And opposite of that, this has to do with your purpose in life. Why are you here? And then we have the South Node in Aries, retrograde, 29 degrees, 9 minutes. So now we have the abstract points of the nodes, very personal, very important, and they have to do with eclipses, by the way. Little side note. Now, what didn't we cover? This guy here represents Chiron, which is an asteroid, and it's a slow-moving asteroid near Pluto in that area, Neptune, Uranus, Pluto. It's slow-moving, and that is 28 degrees Virgo, 6 minutes. Notice this person has a lot going on in Virgo. Interesting. Virgo, a lot of Virgo energy. And then the last thing that we have, second to the last thing, is a part of fortune. Your greatest success, joy, and prosperity is represented by the part of fortune, which is 7 degrees, Taurus, 30 minutes, and it's in the 12th house. So the node is in the 6th house, and the North Node and the South Node is in the 12th house. And I did forget to look at Mars. Mars is 22 degrees Libra, 42 minutes in the 6th house, and it is together or conjunct together with the North Node in the 6th house. So another thing that trips up people when they're looking at the natal chart is they don't understand the houses. So the houses are marked with these lines in the white ring. So the beginning of the first house is the ascendant. It's a special name because it's a very sensitive spot. This is your ascendant, the first house cusp or edge, and the first house ends here in this line, and it starts the second house cusp. Right here is the second house cusp. Okay? And if you notice that the signs start where the colors are, the signs start here at 0 degrees and end at 29 degrees and 59 minutes. Now, you might notice that some of these houses are not quite 30 degrees, but the signs are always 30 degrees. If you divide 360 degrees in a circle, you have 30, 12 by 12, 12 signs, you get 30 degrees. So each sign is definitely 30 degrees, but each house varies. That's a whole nother story. So another point, and it's an abstract point, it's Black Moon Lilith. I use Black Moon Lilith quite a bit. It represents the dark side of the moon, and it's the hidden part of the personality. It's also the misunderstood part of the personality, and it has a wide spectrum of meanings. Meanings of these symbols is a whole nother story, but you must know one thing, that every sign, every planet or point, every aspect, which is represented by these lines, has a light side and a dark side, a positive side and a negative side. There are two sides of the coin. So how you use these energies is 100% up to you. The glass is either half full or half empty. It's your choice. You have free will. Okay? So now I'm sure that when you look at your natal chart, you could figure out where your ascendant is and where your midheaven is. Notice they're really thick lines here. There's a reason for that. They're the most sensitive points. Most sensitive, second most sensitive, third and fourth most sensitive. Okay? So now we get a clear understanding that the houses, the edge of the houses, this particular one is 16 degrees, Gemini, 49 minutes. The third house cusp is 9 degrees, Cancer, 47 minutes, right here. The fourth house cusp, or the IC, the root of your chart, is 0 degrees, Leo, 25 minutes. And then the fifth house cusp, or edge, is 3 degrees, Virgo, 32 minutes. You see? And the sixth house cusp is 12 degrees, Libra, 43 minutes. And your descendant, or the seventh house cusp, is 18 degrees, Scorpio, 38 minutes. Now, I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm going to hope that you guys get the answer correct. True or false? Do you have every sign in your chart? The correct answer is yes. If you were observing, you see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 signs are in this chart. Everybody's chart has every sign in its chart. Everybody's chart has every planet and position or abstract point in the chart. And everybody has 12 houses in their chart. What makes it very unique is how they're spread out how the planets are spread out, and the relationships that these planets and points have to one another. That's what makes your cosmic fingerprint unique. Okay? Now, we're almost done, and I went very slowly through here. We're going to look at the aspects that are with the sun, and you just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there are 9 contacts or relationships. It's like a big family. So the more aspects you have to a particular planet, the sun is very important. It represents who you are, yourself. So that means there's a lot of activity and action to this particular person's sun. Now you're going to say to me, yeah, we understand what these symbols, they all mean something, they all have keywords, but what about these lines? Some of these lines are green, some of these lines are blue, some of these lines are red. What does that mean? Great question. Well, the red lines, solid lines in the chart, are stronger relationships. They're like brothers, sisters, first cousins. They're like strong relationships to one another. All right. They're not just friends. And there's action related to these interpretations. Something has to be done. The green ones are kind of in the middle of the road. And so you're going to say, well, wait a minute. Why are there solid lines and dotted lines? So when we compare an aspect to one another, you're going to, the 2 points to one another. We'll take the sun, for example. There's a relationship between the sun and Jupiter. So the sun is faster or closer to the sun than Jupiter is. So it's always the sun is moving towards the Jupiter. So in other words, the relationship is the sun is moving towards Jupiter. So the faster one is always approaching the slower one. So because the sun is approaching Jupiter, it's a solid line. But if it goes past Jupiter, so we have another dotted line here, that means that it's gone past and it's separating from Pluto. So that's advanced. You don't have to know about that, but all it means is one is approaching, it's stronger, and the dotted lines mean that it's moved past that slower moving entity and it's moving away from. Okay? Now I'm looking at my notes to make sure, because we can't even begin to understand transits or real-time planets like Pluto in Aquarius. Pluto in Aquarius right now is in a certain spot, and I will show you that on this particular example. But first, let's look at what a transit is. So what are transits? Well, transits have to do with the planets in real time. So right now, the sun is in Sagittarius and we are on the earth. So it's in perspective. We're looking at the astrology chart in perspective of us being on earth. and what everything looks like from Earth. And these planets around here, see how they're on their own little track or their own orbit, and they move at their own rate of speed, okay? Real-time planetary movements in their orbits. That's what we're looking at, and a transit is where the planets travel or transit over your natal chart defines the time frames influences on you. So the next thing we're going to do is, now that we put everything together, we will look at this natal chart. This is the frozen points on the chart. These planets are never going to move again because they represent this time of birth at this particular place. All right? That will not change. But what we want to see is the sky now. So the sky now, if I could get it to work, here it is. This is what's going on this moment in Virginia Beach, December 18th at 10:26 p.m. All right. So if somebody was born in Virginia Beach right now, this is what the sky would look like. But this is what's happening now. So these are real planets. Now, what we do to make a forecast is we're going to compare and look and see where these planets are on the natal chart. It's a transit. So the biggie now is Pluto is almost 29 degrees Capricorn. And we're going to find that on the chart. But if you don't have a program like this, what you do is you go back to the chart, 29, let's say 29 degrees Capricorn. So we're going back here and we're going to look for Capricorn. Ah, there's Capricorn, 29 degrees. Oh, here's Pluto. Well, Pluto is right near this big fat line and near this planet for sure, Uranus. So what is that going to mean? Well, now you could begin to figure it out. All right. Now here's another trick. Once you get really fancy, and we could look, this is what astrologers do. We're going to look at sample chart number 1, and we're going to compare it to the sky right now. All the transits. Boom. Look at this. So now you could see where Pluto is, where Saturn is, where the moon is, where Neptune is, where Chiron is, where North Node is. And remember, you have to look at the degrees and what house they're in. All right? Always, when you talk about transiting Venus is in Scorpio, and it's going to go over this line. It's going to jump houses. When it goes over any one of these lines, that means something. When they go into a new sign, like everybody's talking about, Pluto is going into Aquarius. It's shifting energies. It's like shifting gears. It's like going to a different climate, going into a different environment. Huge. And remember, we have to look at for the little R's, all these symbols we have to pay close attention to. I hope that you have all learned now how to look at your natal chart and where the big three is so we could go back and review very quickly the chart. So we have an ascendant here. These are the angles of the chart. This is where the action is, or the powerful stuff. We have the signs that start at 0 and at 29:59 minutes, all the way around. These are denoted by their corresponding color. These are the signs. They go all the way around, and they're always 30 degrees all the way around. And each sign is either one element: earth, air, fire, water, and one modality: cardinal, fixed, mutable. Those are the components of the signs. And then we have the houses, which vary in degrees, and they move counterclockwise also. And they're numbered 1 through 12. And inside the houses and inside the signs, which are in the houses, are the planets or abstract points. And from there, they form relationships to one another, where they weave a tapestry or story about who you are, why you're here, your past life, your karma, your purpose, your career. Everything makes sense. It has a cycle, it has order, it has function, and an astrologer spends many years learning all the tricks of the trade. But now you could begin your journey yourself to understand your natal chart. If you have any questions, pose them underneath in the comments. If you need to get in touch with us at Holistic Healing Astrology, feel free to call 757-513-7771. This is our website where you could take more information about astrology. And if you need to email Ev, that's me, you do so at ev@holistichealingastrology.com. Do you want to have your natal chart reading? You may do so by scheduling online. It's the 90-minute session for $180 as of today, December 18th, 2023. But by the time you see this video, it might cost more. And if you want to learn astrology, you may contact us or schedule a discovery call. Thank you again for your time, your patience, and your attention. God bless you. Have a wonderful rest of the day or evening. And until we meet again, take care.